The Malecon, Havana's iconic waterfront with its iconic vintage cars from America. The cars aren't just quaint, they're symbolic. They were made at a time when Cuba and the United States still had relations, and before Washington's economic embargo sealed the communist island from much of the world economy. Hence the cars, miracles of recycling without spare parts. On the same waterfront as well, the building that will soon house America's embassy here. Until now, it's been what diplomats call an interest section and a stage for a petty war of symbols. The Americans put up a digital news ticker, reminding Cubans that they don't enjoy a free press. The Cubans responded with black flags, blocking the diplomats' view. The thawing began as soon as President Obama took office in 2009, but it took its time. He had the ticker tape removed, and last year he even shook hands with Raul Castro, Fidel's younger brother and the man now running Cuba, at Nelson Mandela's funeral. Today, the two of them went on air at the same time, both wearing their uniforms, one in Washington, one in Havana, to make a bit of history.
I do not believe we can keep doing the same thing for over 5 decades and expect a different result. Moreover, it does not serve America's interests or the Cuban people to try to push Cuba towards collapse.
We invite the US government to adopt mutual measures to improve bilateral climate and advance towards the normalization of relations between our countries.
The preamble to today's announcement was an exchange of prisoners, 2 Americans for 3 Cubans, most of them alleged spies. It is the beginning of the end of a warped standoff that began at a time when the Cold War threatened to turn hot. Fidel Castro, the son of a landowner who became the father of a communist revolution, defeated the pro-Washington Batista regime and turned Cuba into a communist island 90 miles off the coast of Florida. Cue a catalogue of historical blunders, misadventures and standoffs that almost resulted in Armageddon. There was Kennedy's ill-fated Bay of Pigs invasion. And biggest nail-biter of all time, the Cuban Missile Crisis, which brought America and the Soviet Union to the brink of nuclear war. Astonishingly, perhaps, Cuba and the Castros survived the end of the Cold War and the collapse of the Soviet Union and its financial support for Havana. America's embargo helped. The Cuban regime could always blame the island's woes on the evils of Uncle Sam across the water. The Cuban economy became as dilapidated as the picturesque ruins of downtown Havana. Enter the late Hugo Chavez, the Venezuelan president who loathed Washington as much as he adored his mentor Fidel Castro and used his country's oil money to keep the Cuban economy and regime on life support. But he died last year, and since then the oil prices plunged and Venezuela is no longer able to bankroll its stepchild to the north.
And the rest, as I say, is almost history. Well, in the past few minutes, aid worker Alan Gross, who was held for 5 years by the Cuban regime, has been speaking at a press conference after his unexpected release. Listen.
Today is the first day of Hanukkah, and I guess so far it's the best Hanukkah that I'll be celebrating for a long time. What a blessing it is to be a citizen of this country. And thank you, President Obama, for everything that you have done today and leading up to today.